Let's again welcome Kimberly Smith Austin and Darlene. I want to say thank you for being the rock star that you are, for just helping us get this thing moving for tonight. As you all know, you've heard from Darlene, we're going to spend about 90 minutes together. Now, it's not just 90 minutes of hanging out, we'll do a little bit of that too. But tonight, we're going to look at empowerment, empowering you with your financial future. If you don't know, this month, April is Financial Literacy Month. And our organization, Empower Women in Wellness, we look at the whole woman, and financial wellness is one of those key components because what we've realized is that if you are not financially well, it will impact your mental wellness, your physical wellness, your relationships, which is social wellness, your marriage. It impacts so much. So we thought this would be a tremendous opportunity for us to come together with you and talk about this. Not only talk about it, but roll our sleeves up and get into this content so that we can build a healthier, happier life. So I'm super excited to be here. Now, I'm not here alone, and I'm delighted to be able to introduce to you tonight someone who's going to be really facilitating this workshop. And I say facilitating, we're moderating, we're co facilitating. But let me tell you, this woman has spent 30 years in the financial services industry. She specializes in wealth management for high net worth business owners. Now, you may not have a business here, and you may not have become that high net worth person just yet, but today is day one. I always ask people, is it day one or one day? We want it to be your day one. She has a bachelor in finance. She has a master's of business administration. And her mission overall is empowering women to achieve financial independence and confidence. When you got your money right, you are confident. She has a community called Girlfriend. Girlfriend, get your money right. And I may have improperly said that, Felicia, and I'm going to have you really tell us what it is. But let me tell you, she has some unique values. Number one, extensive industry experience. Number two, deep understanding of business owner finances. Now, even though we say business owner, this is for the individual as well. Passionate advocate for women's financial empowerment. I can't wait for you to hear her story and how she got involved and how she's transformed her own life through financial literacy. And the last one is the blend of the academic knowledge as well as real world experience. Will you all help me join to the Zoom Felicia Be Well, Kadima?
Woohoo!
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Kimberly, as always, for this awesome opportunity. I do not take it lightly that you and Darlene have invited me to uh, to be part of this platform. I've been a facilitator at both of the conferences in 2024 and in 2025 this year, and it's been a real pleasure. This topic is so interesting. In my bio, Kimberly talked about the fact that, yes, the majority of my working experience in financial services has been working with entrepreneurs. These are individuals that own their own companies, and these are anywhere companies ranging from anywhere from 10 million a year to the highest I've had about 200 million companies. So these are companies that where individuals have built their businesses from the ground up, and I've had the privilege of working with them. So at that point, I'm working with very sophisticated financial topics, issues, matters with CFOs, CPAs, people who are trained. Why am I so passionate about personal finance? And that starts with my own personal story. I was in a domestic violence marriage for 7 years. For the first 4 years, I told no one. It wasn't until after my second daughter was born that things just started spilling over because you can only hide for so long. Long story short, I mean, there was physical violence, emotional, financial, all of that. When I finally got to the point where I knew that this was not no longer going to be safe for me physically, mentally, psychologically, I knew that although the physical was short lived because I got law enforcement involved right away, but the emotional, the financial, the verbal continued. And I knew that from a wellness perspective, that was taking a toll on me. And I needed to make a decision. It was not an easy decision, just factoring all of the factors. You have children involved. This was my dream, but I knew that I needed to get out of it. I knew that there was something better for me. It was scary. I felt like I was jumping off the bridge, but I knew that I needed to leave that situation. Part of what gave me the confidence to be able to leave was that I had my own financial independence. I was able to reroute funds and certain assets so that I can secure enough money to get an attorney to find a place. You guys, we're in California, so you know an attorney, they're going to ask you 5,000 for a retainer. They're going to add, if you get an apartment, you're going to have to pay security deposit and the first or second 2 months rent. And I needed to have all that money together. So in order for me to get out comfortably, I needed anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 to be able to do that. Thank goodness I was able to do that. And then I got on my own. And just having that peace, although it took some time because I needed to build my life back together because I couldn't take all the furnishings. Although it took some time to build that, but just having that peace of mind of having my own space. And it was because I had my own financial independence that allowed me to be able to do that. Coming out of a domestic violence situation, of course, there's a lot of trauma and hurt and trauma that you're experiencing. And I knew right away that I needed to do some healing. So with the combination of therapy, life coaching, group support, I did all of that because I knew it was imperative for me to be able to do that. As I started to do both the therapy and the personal coaching, I started to identify some financial issues that I had. Although I had the financial independence, but there were some gaps in my financial life that I had that I needed to address, such as, having a lot of debt, living paycheck to paycheck. And I always made money, but it was like, why am I in this situation? So as I started to do the healing work to address the trauma of how did me, an educated woman, master's degree, I had a VP title, all of the accolades end up in this situation. That's when I discovered I was dealing with low self-esteem from childhood abuse. There was just so many things that contributed to how I related to money. So one of the things, the way that it showed up for me was, although I made great income, I oftentimes, to compensate to gain validation, would give money, would purchase extravagant gifts for friends and family in order to buy love and acceptance. And that put me in a situation where I had accumulated a lot of debt. I was living paycheck to paycheck because my money was coming, but because I didn't feel good enough, I felt like I needed to buy love, which is going to be one day a book that I'm going to write. I was spending all that money. So really, I wasn't in a position where I needed to be. So after the healing work, after dissecting and really understanding the relationship that I had with money, and then also looking at other women around me who were in situations, they were also in unhealthy marriages, there were some domestic violence, they could not leave because they did not have the financial wherewithal. I also saw women that were in successful careers On the outside, they look like they had it all, the great car, the nice home, the nice luxury purses, clothing, shoes, cars, you name it. But financially, they were struggling, and there was shame associated with that. They really didn't want to talk about it with anyone, but they needed to get their money right. So as I was having a conversation with myself, like, girl, you need to get your money right. And then also hearing, seeing, and observing how other women at various levels were struggling financially. That's where, girlfriend, we need to get your money right was born as a movement, as an initiative to help women to understand the power of financial independence and then how to be confident in their finances. I find that there's a lot of information out here. There's the Dave Ramsey, there's the budgeting, there's a wealth of information out there. What I try to do is I try to bring financial literacy in a way that's relatable, in a way that is not causing judgment or shame, not in a complex way. We can talk about highly complicated financial matters, but what I always say, girlfriends, I will break it down for you in a way that we can understand it and it can actually be a positive and a fun thing. For example, Kimberly and I, as we were preparing for this, we were talking about having emergency funds. And I was like, well, Kimberly, I have a new terminology that I use, an opportunity fund. Whereas sometimes you need to have extra money saved up just in case an opportunity comes and you want to be able to use that. So that's just a little bit. And so a lot of people who work with me like to work with me because they say, Felicia, you make finances look fun and beautiful. Yes, I really try to make it unintimidating. I can talk with the CFO of a Fortune 500 company, and I can talk to the waitress at the restaurant about her finances. I can do both. So that's a little bit about me. And I'm excited that we're going to be talking about this topic. So as you all know, April is financial literacy, as Kimberly talked about. So today we are going to really go to work. Part of what I like to do is I don't want to, again, just give you information. I want you to be able to be equipped and be prepared to take control of your finances. So we're going to talk about what's happening in the economy right now. We're going to talk about your mindset. Everything starts in our mind. We are going to talk about vision because a lot of times we don't have a vision for where we want to be financially. We just hear save for retirement, save for a car, save for a vacation, and that's it. We never really talk about having a vision. And then we're going to talk about saving with intention, investing, as well as budgeting. And the budgeting, that's where we're going to really get in the nitty gritty. We're going to do a breakout group. We'll have a couple breakout groups tonight to cover these topics so that you really get an opportunity to start the work. We can't do it all here, but you'll have an opportunity to start the work. And then we will wrap it up. So Kimberly, without further ado, if you would like to get us started on what's happening in the economy and why this is such an important time for us to be talking about our finances.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Felicia. And ladies, I'm super excited. As you heard from Felicia, her financial story is amazing. And we know that we all have our own individual story. Throughout today, I want you to think about what is that story? What has happened in your life to impact your view and how you move financially? And some of you might be like, I don't have money yet. I'm not doing anything yet, which is also why this workshop is going to be so amazing for you. Darlene, are you able to advance the slide?
I
I'm just
can.
and Felicia's already kind of gone through a couple of things on the agenda. I'm going to give you a pop quiz. And I know, nope, we're not in school, but we're going to do a little pop quiz right now. And what I like to do is we're going to go in a classroom setting to do that. Okay. So you all are here right now in the class. We're going to do a couple pop quizzes. And I'm going to ask if you would be so kind and respond to these questions accordingly. Now, they are open book. When I say open book, more of they are set up where it's an open response. I want you to share your responses. Now, if you can see the quiz, let me know by simply raising your hand. Can you see the quiz? Give me a thumbs up. All right. So let me walk you through just quickly, and I know you can see them, but go ahead and start putting your answers in. What is the recommended amount for an emergency fund? I know we've heard that term. We've talked about it. Felicia said today it's called an opportunity fund. That's what she's calling it because it gives us the opportunity to step into life in a new space. Number two says, what is the idea debt to income ratio? And here's the truth. If you don't know, just say, I don't know. If you want to guess, throw a guess in. Or if you know with 100% certainty, go ahead and throw that in. Number three says, what is the recommended percentage of your take home for savings? You know, people say you save 50, 90, 65%. What is that percentage? Go ahead and pop that in. We also have another question is what is the rule of 72? If you've heard it, you know it. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Again, I don't know is acceptable and it's okay, which is why we're excited you're here. And then the last one says, what is a zero-based budget? So there's some questions for you right there. I want to go ahead and give you a few minutes to answer those really quickly. And again, we want to make this a short piece because once we get through this quiz, we're going to go ahead and move forward and start getting into some content and material that's going to open your mind, hopefully blow you away, take you to a new place, all of that good stuff.
And Kimberly, I was just thinking that let them write the answers down, and then we can ask them when we get towards the end what
Yep.
they had, because we'll
Yep.
be talking about it throughout our presentations here. We'll be providing hints.
There you go. So you might want to keep it down there. I'm going to see if I can copy it from here. And so you have it, but so go ahead and fill that out. I'm also going to give you another resource.
Let me know when you want me to end the poll too, because it looks like it's up on my side.
It's on your side. Beautiful. Darlene, do you see where it says the QR code?
I do have the QR code. Do you want me to get it?
Drop that in the chat as well, just in case they want to go back and use it. Oh, you know what? I already did it. Got it. Boom.
Did it just go on the screen?
It did. And I also, so if you want to take your phone and scan that as well, that means you'll have the questions beyond the quiz being up on the screen.
Looks like we got one person that's answered all the questions.
Whoop, whoop. That's our, what do you call it? I don't want to call it a student. I don't want to call it a teacher's pad. I'm not saying that.
Let's call him a superstar.
Awesome, awesome. Darlene, if you can go ahead, has everyone grabbed the QR code really quickly? If you have, go ahead and let us know, send a thumbs up, send a chat, a reaction. We're going to move it from the screen and get right into the content. All right, go ahead and drop that from the screen, Darlene.
Did it go back to the PowerPoint?
I am.
Yes.
Okay,
It is
perfect.
there. So, ladies, you know that we are here talking about, what's going on in our economy. Inflation, inflation, inflation. Huge problem, especially when you only have so many dollars to your day. And when inflation happens, it directly impacts us. Right now, there's a lot of word that says that a lot of statistics, a lot of studies, the financial market is saying the average person needs between $700 and $1,100 more a month to manage some of their basic necessities just based on the increase in inflation. And then there's this thing we know called tariffs. And these are simply taxes that are imposed by the government on imported goods. And if any of you ladies love Shein or a Temu or a lot of the things that we get here in the US, that is a huge problem. This fee is directly impacting each and every one of us. So, and right now the conversation is there's a 25% tariff that may be imposed on steel from another country. Companies are actually importing that steel to the US. The US has to pay that 25% more on taxes. But when you think about that, what does that mean for you, ladies? And I really want to simplify it for you. Think about this. Number one is higher prices for you. When we have to pay tariffs, when companies have to pay tariffs, the cost of that consumable good, the things that you and I need and use every day, it's going to cost more. Again, that's why $700 to $1,100 a month just to make ends meet. On top of that, the tariffs are simply protection for domestic industries. And this is a big term, but it really is there to protect those local businesses. They use it to protect them. Really think about the competition in these foreign markets. And so when they put these tariffs in place, it helps the domestic industries grow and survive. Now, I don't know how many of you are business owners that deal with these type of things from other countries. You're impacted, but this actually impacts your bottom line as well. Think about the tension from trading. We're seeing it right now when we look at the news. You look at all the information that's going out, the whole president situation. So there's a lot. But here's the other thing that I know impacts us huge is the slow economic growth. In the long run, when we have high tariffs, this leads to reduced in trading, but higher production costs. So everything's going to cost more. And there's less innovation. Companies are not spending their time figuring out ways to produce more, build better boxes. Instead, they're trying to figure out how do they defray the costs? How do they keep their organization alive? Now, you top that with increased wages. We saw here in California, some of the fast food rates went from $15 to $20 an hour. So all of those things have a direct impact on us. So when we say inflation, we say tariffs, I'm just giving you a little insight on how it impacts you. So when we think about this, I want you to think about purchasing a car, purchasing computers, foreign markets. They encourage and we're trying to look at how to encourage consumers to buy American made. I've been fortunate enough to shop my consumable goods every day from an American made company, which means I'm paying less because they're not paying fees from across the world, which is also awesome because they have not increased their prices. They hadn't increased their prices for over 20 years. Now they've been forced to make some shifts just because the increased cost of goods. But that simply means less competition, higher prices overall. So when we think about that, I just wanted to throw that out there because we keep hearing about inflation, how it impacts us. You already know because your pocketbooks or your purses, your bottom lines are already been affected. So that's a huge piece. Anything you want to add to that, Felicia? Because I know you've been directly working with that with some of the business owners.
Yes, absolutely, you guys. I actually was in a meeting today with a law firm that was talking about the tariffs, and it's causing a lot of uncertainty for business owners. They are holding back on investing, and what does that mean for everyday people like us? Companies may look at reducing cost, and that means reducing staff. So you may start to hear about more layoffs. My investments took a $30,000 hit when the stock market went down. So think about people who are thinking about retiring and they had all their money in their 401k or their pension or some sort of a investment vehicle in the stock market. So this is hitting us home. Like Kimberly talked about cars. It's going to be very expensive. They're saying that we're going to probably be seeing like somebody said like a 45% increase, on certain vehicles. So it's getting to a point where we're really going to have to tighten it up. One of the things that I always said that we had the pandemic and there was all this cash flow that was released into the economy. And what that did, Kimberly, that gave us the illusion that we had all of this money and that life was always going to be there. There are certain industries that saw a peak in demand. And so people started doing things with the assumption that they had all this money. And after the pandemic, when the demand decreased, things sort of tightened up. People are like, oh my goodness, what do I do? And now we're entering another situation where there's uncertainty, but there's hope, you guys. I don't want to scare you, but I just want you to know what the reality is. But you still have power and control, which is what we'll be talking about. All right, that's all I have to
That's
add to
right.
that.
I love that. And I love it because you're real time working with organizations and individuals that are investing in the markets, that are putting money out there, that are developing businesses, but also creating jobs. So it's
Mhm.
important to know the mindset, which is exactly where we're going to go. And I want to start by asking a question to all of you. And I'm going to ask you to drop it in the chat. What is a money mindset? Better yet, I want to ask it even better. What is your money mindset? And let me tell you what that concept is. It's basically a collection of beliefs, your thoughts, and attitudes you hold about money. How does money work? How do you earn it? How do you spend it? But most importantly, what you believe you're worthy of receiving. It's not just about how much you make. It's about what you believe is possible and what you allow yourself to experience financially. And I'll tell you, for me growing up, I grew up on the south side of Chicago, and I lived in a home with substance abuse. And unfortunately, my family chose to put their money into substances instead of invest in the markets, instead of investing in me and my education. And so I got started working at 14 years old. First job was stuffing papers in the junk mail. Truly, the junk mail. I would put coupons in the newspaper in the junk mail. From there, I went on to Baskin Robbins, later went on to McDonald's. Now, because I had a family member that would often, kind of find my money or steal my money, I started hiding money. I started hiding it. I would dump it in my basement in Chicago. We had cinder blocks that built up a bar, and I would drop 20s. Every time I got paid from McDonald's, I was dropping money in that little spot. So I knew that when I needed to go to school the next day, I had the money that I needed. And you know what? That actually carried on into my life. I became an avid saver, even to sometimes to the point where I had lots of money and I wouldn't buy something because I had a what if in my back of my mind. So I want you to think for a moment, what is your money mindset? Where did it come from? And if you want to drop it, drop it in the chat. So your mindset is usually shaped by what you heard growing up. How many of you've heard this expression? If you know it, drop it. Money doesn't grow on.
Free.
Trees.
Yes, 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 absolutely. We've heard that. What about what you saw modeled? Financial stress, secrecy,
Mhm.
overspending. For me, it was scarcity. All those things shape our mind. But what about what have you experienced? Was it always a struggle? I have a client who told me the same thing. She didn't know where her food would come from. And as a result, you see how she lives today. Was it survival mode? Was it sudden success? Was there loss? What did you experience? And these messages become our money scripts, guys. And even though we think, we're moving and grooving, they become our money scripts. And they often operate silently in the background, influencing every financial decision you make. Every. So, number one is to simply be aware. Awareness is power. What do you believe about money? And where did that belief come from? And that's why I asked you to drop it in. Because the truth is, you can't change what you don't acknowledge. So, we have to acknowledge it. Number two, money is a tool, not an identity, right? Back in the day, I love five-piece suits and I still wear them today. I really do. But your bank balance doesn't define your worth. Money is a resource to be managed, not a measure of your value. And that's something we'll go into later. Number three is abundance is available, right? A scarcity mindset keeps us in survival mode, but an abundance mindset believes there's more than enough. And you know that more than enough. During COVID, people made millions of dollars from little small short inventions that they came up with, guys. So we can have a lot if you believe you can. And then the last thing I like to say before I turn it over to Felicia is you can rewire your story. Mindsets aren't permanent, they're programmable. You can shift from I'll never be good with money to I'm learning how to rise and thrive financially. I get excited because that's the truth. I've shifted from that save, save, save. I spend a little now. So tonight isn't just about budgeting or debt, it's about beliefs because the way you think about money determines the way you interact with money. And once you change your money mindset, you can change your entire financial future. Now, with that, I want to turn it over to Felicia to go a little bit deeper. Felicia.
That is so awesome, Kimberly. And you guys, this is so critical, what Kimberly just talked about, because everything starts in our minds. And what I want you guys to do is maybe we'll do this as part of our first breakout, as we will go into vision. But I want you to get on a sheet of paper and you're going to write the sentence. I hold the belief that. That's your starting sentence. And what you want to do is you want to purge every belief that comes to mind that you have about money. I hold the belief, and I can put it in the chat so that you can get it. You can grab it. I, Felicia, replace it with your name. Hold the belief that da 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 da. I hold the belief that rich people can be spiritual. that in order for you to be holy and be accepted, you have to be poor. I grew up in a certain denomination where poverty was regarded as the way to be. So write that down. Once you write all of your beliefs, and I want you to just maybe write one or two. Now what you have to do is because your brain is kind of like a computer, right? Whatever is in it, that's what's going to come out. Now we have to go into reprogramming, which is what Kimberly talked about. What you're going to do with the second sentence then is going to be, I now hold the belief that da, 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 da. So you're going to take you have the old belief, and then you're now going to have the new belief. And this is going to be your new belief. And you know how rather than grabbing affirmations from what someone gives you, your new beliefs will now become your affirmations. I hold the belief, for example, I hold the belief that for me to be considered a good Christian, that I needed to not have a lot of money because money is the root of all evil. The new belief that I now hold is that I hold the belief that money is a resource. It's a tool that could bring blessing into the lives, for my life and the life of other people. Money is a resource. It's a tool for me. It is here to help me. I love money. if if somebody from religious person, they heard me say that, they're like, oh my gosh, why not? The thing that represents freedom, I heard Mary Morrissey say this, that money is the thing that represents freedom. It gives you choices and options. Rain's up there with oxygen. If you don't have a lot of it, you can't breathe. You know, there's so many people that are dealing with anxiety right now with everything that's happening because they're like, oh my goodness, I may not have enough. And for some people, that creates anxiety. So it does impact our physical wellness when we don't have it. I always say there is a cost to poverty. I know. The little girl that was born in a third world country, parents have to pay for private education because there is no private public schools. There was no free lunch. There were no free libraries. Money is a resource and a tool. So I want to make sure that we really stress the importance of write down those old beliefs that you have. And then you're going to write new beliefs that you want to replace them with. And and if you need time to develop those new beliefs, take the time so that you can have new beliefs. So that you have a new tape that is playing, so that you have a new messaging that you are saying around to your children. Because one of the things that we tend to do is whatever we were taught, we start using the same behavior and mindset and passing that on to our children. So, Darlene, are you keeping things in the trunk still? And, are you doing that around your daughter? Because she might be seeing that.
I used to when I was young in my 20s, but not since I've had her. No, luckily I broke that generational pattern.
Okay, awesome. So the key to breaking some of those generational patterns, you guys, is acknowledging and bringing out the beliefs that we hold, and then going into writing new beliefs that we are now going to start practicing. And it's going to take time. I'll give you one example. One of the things that my father was the oldest of 12, and he was the main one that primarily moved to the States when my family moved here from Africa. And he had what they call survivor's remorse. And he always felt like he needed to send money back home to help out the rest of his brothers and sisters because the economy just wasn't well. So a lot of people immigrants who live here, a lot of times they're working and they're sending money to help families. My dad one time said to me, well, my dad told me that as the eldest, that I would be a slave to my younger brothers and sisters, and I would always have to tell them that. And I remember there was a certain point in my early adulthood where I adopted that mentality where I had a great job and I had a career, but I needed to always give, 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 give. And one time I challenged that belief. I said, that's not what my God said. There is nowhere in the Bible where it says that because I've been blessed, I've been given an opportunity, that I owe anyone else. Yes, we have a moral responsibility, but we need to do within what is in our means, not sacrificing ourselves. That's why you see so many entertainers, celebrities who end up having a lot of money end up filing bankruptcies because there's that survivor's remorse. There's that belief that, oh my goodness, I made it, so I owe everyone. So I wanted to make sure that I pointed that out. So the key here is like, we want you to rather, based on what we talked about with the economy, with the tariffs, we want you to move with intention rather than being reactive. Oh my God, the stock market. Oh my God. We really want you to move with the intention. And it starts with having a vision. Have you ever thought about that? Who's here has ever sat and and did a visualization or because a lot of times we've all done vision boards at some point, right? Have you ever done a financial vision board? That's a question. Anybody?
I've had it built into my vision board where it talks about finances and money and like things I wanted to do with the money.
Okay. Okay. Great. Anyone else? And you can say no, because I just want to kind of gauge. Okay.
We're getting some no's in the chat.
Thank you, Dominique. Thank you, Marilyn. Okay. Awesome. Thank you guys for sharing. I so appreciate that. And that's not uncommon. No one ever talks to us about having a vision for our finances, where we want to be until today. And this is what we get to do right now. So we're going to go into our breakout breakout rooms. And I want you to have your pen and paper. We should have told y'all to bring a journal. I think Kimberly put it in the final reminder email. Have your pen, paper, calculator. We are going to work. And get a piece of paper and your pen. And we're going to go into our breakout rooms. I will give you about 5 minutes to just kind of sit. Well, a minute, give yourself a minute to just kind of sit and visualize. And we'll say 2 years from now. We'll say 2 years from now, April 2027, at this time, what is my financial life going to look like? And I want you to be very detailed and descriptive. So, for example, 2027, I have purchased my new home here in Winchester. The house is in Winchester. Outside of my house, you can see the mountains. I have a beautiful backyard with a covered patio, and there's my outside patio furniture, and there's a beautiful display of a flower bed right there. There's a barbecue grill area, and there's a refrigerator, and inside the refrigerator there's some Heinekens because I have family members that love to come. And in the house, the living room is very spacious because in 2 days, I'm going to be having an event in my house where there's going to be 3 or 4 round tables where people are going to be gathered in my home for this women's event. My bedroom, oh my goodness. So I want you to be very descriptive of what you want to see. Now, I just talked about my house. So that's something that I want financially. In terms of the student loans will be gone because Elon is on a trip right now. And I will have received my letter from the processor that says, Miss Kadima, your student loans, you have a zero balance on your student loans. My car is paid off. I have 2 vehicles in my driveway. There's no debt. I have 0 credit card debt. The only debt that I have is my mortgage, my new mortgage that I got. So I want you to be I want you to do the vision. Now, when we set goals, that's where we quantify things. That's where we can say, okay, I have 50,000 in the bank. I have $1 million in my foreign keeper. For right now, I just want us to get in touch with that visioning. So a minute to think about it, give yourself 3 or 4 minutes to kind of write it out, jot down notes, and then 5 minutes to kind of share with each other if you all are okay with that. Does that sound good?
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, so Darlene, how are you going to break us up?
It's going to automatically put you into 3 different groups. So do you want them to brainstorm right now, and then after we brainstorm and write ourselves, then we'll go to the breakouts, or do you want me to send everybody to the breakout rooms?
Send everybody to the breakout rooms.
All right, so I will call you guys back in about 8 minutes then. So 3 minutes of brainstorming and then 5 minutes of sharing the vision with each other. Is that about right, Felicia?
Mm-hmm.
All right, perfect. All right. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ping me. All right, here we go. Should ask you to join. You should see a little notification to join the room. All right. I'm going to hit pause on the recording. Oh, wait. You might need to on your side because you started it, Kimberly.
Okay. I had to resume that. Sorry about that. So we're back and we're talking about savings. We're in this segment, but again, just reflecting on the power of vision and how when you set the vision, you allow yourself to have purpose. And one of the things we talk about are smart goals. We can have smart goals. And so today, if you remember in your evaluation or your pop quiz, we talked about what is that amount What is the recommended amount when it comes to savings? Really quickly, I want you guys to open up your microphone or drop in the chat. What is that number? Drop it in before we talk about savings. How much is it? What is that percentage? That
Isn't it two months of salary or
okay.
something like that? Three.
Okay, I heard 2 months of salary. I heard someone say 3 months of salary. Okay. Keep
My
it
goal
coming.
is my goal is an entire year.
Okay. She said an entire year. So there's emergency fund and then there's savings. So let's look at emergency fund. Now, you'll hear this and that number will vary. And I should let Felicia say what that number is. And then I'll go in. Felicia, tell them what the number is. 3 to 6 months. Look, she's on mute.
Oh, mute.
3 to
Unmute
6 months
Felicia.
of your salary should be what you should for emergency fund.
So the first question is how much should you save, or was it
The emergency
Oh,
fund. Because some of the
Right.
responses were emergency fund related versus savings.
Right. Ideally, the standard is you want to have 3 to 6 months of your expenses as part of your emergency fund. They say 3 to 6 months because let's say in the event there's a job loss, there's a medical issue, it typically takes about that period of time to pivot, to start rebuilding and to be able to get another opportunity, get into some sort of a venture that will be able to yield you some money to cover your expenses. So the answer is 3 to 6 months of your expenses.
Beautiful. I love it. Now, savings is not, again, about how much you make. It's about how much you decide to keep. And we know that every dollar you save, I'm going to use this term, is a vote for your future peace, power, and possibilities. Yep, that's what I'm going to say. Because I think about it, and I told you my personal example, but let's think about why savings matter. Number one, peace of mind. Number one, peace of mind. And we talked about how finances, lack of, creates stress. And when we have saved, we reduce the stress and you give yourself some breathing room. An emergency fund it turns a crisis into an inconvenience. Let me say that again. An emergency fund turns a crisis into an inconvenience. So when you don't have something, there's no way you can respond, right? But when you have it, now you may not have wanted to spend it. Now it becomes an inconvenience. Like I had to take out of my emergency fund to take care of this versus this crisis situation that has put my family and I in a tough situation. The other thing I think about why savings matter is preparation. It positions you for life's unexpected turns, car repairs, job loss, health issues. I left corporate America in 1999. I stepped away and started one of my first consulting firms. Now, I made a lot of money at the time, but I also had put a lot of money aside so that I can do that. And I knew that when I set myself up in a position, it better afforded me to live life at a different level. Now, fast forward many moons later, I try to keep no debt, but that's my philosophy because I'm still an entrepreneur. Here I am over 25 years later, and I want that freedom. It prepares me. When things happen, there's funds there for it. Think of savings as your financial seatbelt. You're just getting in that seat and you're putting your straps on and preparing. But the third thing is what I love. Felicia used the word opportunity. I use the word possibility. I have a book, shameless plug, called The Millions of Possibility. But the third one is the possibility. It creates options. You want to start a business, you want to take a dream trip, you want to leave a toxic job, you want to leave a marriage. Saving gives you the power to say yes to you, to your dreams. Now, one of the things that I think about when it comes to saving myths that we just have to bust. Number one, I don't have enough to save. And I think about that like exercise. People are like, I'm too tired to exercise. And I say to them, exercise and you'll get energy. It's the same thing with money. I don't make enough to save. Start small. $5 a week builds momentum, friends. And I know it seems so small, but that nest egg will grow. Or maybe you say, I'll save when I make more. Yeah, yeah. If you don't save $10 now, you won't save $1,000 later. Or how about it's too late to start? Financially, I have an MBA. Felicia has an MBA, background finance. I'm not in that space, but I've chosen. But when I think about it's too late to start, and the numbers, the charts we used to get in school would tell us, if you start at 20, there's going to be a huge amount later, depending on how much you save, the time of savings. But here's the truth. Every dollar you save today is one you won't need to borrow tomorrow. Ha! And I think about that. That's power back in your hands. I want you to think of savings like planting seeds. You don't eat the fruit the day you plant the tree, but eventually the seed produces shade, fruit, and a legacy. So when you think about savings, there's a couple things. Strategies I've heard over the years is use the 50-30-20 rule. 50% for your needs, 30% for your wants, 20% for your savings and debts. That's one strategy. One of the things I love is the concept of setting up automatic transfers. And this goes to paying yourself first. And we'll talk about that. Felicia's going to give you more on that. But maybe opening up a separate savings account you don't touch. Save your tax refunds. That's a whole nother discussion. I know Felicia and I could probably talk about that. We should come back with the tax refund concept. I have a whole theory on that. But your bonuses or your spare change. I would put spare change in a 5-gallon water jar for my son. And eventually I gave it to him. Do you know that spare change, it was $722 because I threw quarters, nickels, and dimes in that bottle. And use money affirmations to shift your mindset. Felicia gave you some. Maybe it's I'm a consistent saver. I honor my future with every dollar I save. You get to decide what that is. But know that savings can be your superpower. And I want to challenge you tonight to set a savings goal. What am I saving for? How much do I want to save? By when? Make it a SMART goal. And what's one small change I can make this week to get started? Write it down. Speak it out. But more importantly, take one step today. And then I'm going to close with this. Don't save what's left after spending. Spend what's left after saving. That's a quote from Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in America. Back to you, Felicia.
Thank you, Kimberly. And there is a scripture that says, if you are faithful in the little things, you'll be faithful in the bigger things. I might be paraphrasing here, but that's why I love when you talked about how, just start somewhere, start with a little bit. And generally, the ideal number they say that you should do is pay yourself 10%. I think that's one of your answers. Pay yourself 10%, like Kimberly said, as part of your budget. In your budget, the first line item is, why would you pay South Wisconsin Energy or the what's our power company here? Edison.
SoCal Edison.
SoCal Edison, SoCal Gas,
yep.
Metropolitan Water, Waste Management, Visa, American Express, Toyota Financing, whoever, landlord, Wells Fargo Mortgage. Pay yourself first. I remember there was one time I said, you know what? I want to get to this amount of savings before I pay anybody. I rolled out. I delayed, like businesses do sometimes, that you delay your payables so that I can increase my savings, because savings gives me that comfort in knowing that, okay, I have a chunk of money here. And just most recently, you guys, this was the first time I did this. Paid for a European trip. My birthday's coming up. Paid it cash. Before I would swipe it. Paid cash My garage, now I'm not happy about this one. My garage door goes out on me. I'm like, oh my goodness. And I know this guy probably took advantage of me, but I needed to get it paid for. And it was nice to be able to just, rather than swiping it again. Remember how we were taught that the credit card was for emergencies? Remember how I think in the 80s and 90s, that's how we were taught, get a credit card for emergencies. Well, I came from the school of Dave Ramsey. I'm actually one of Dave Ramsey's certified financial peace trainers. And when I started listening to that, just about how let's normalize, like I paid cash for my car, just let's normalize doing those things so that you're not going into debt. I want to go into investing because it kind of goes together, because as your savings, you're going to look at different vehicles. Your emergency savings, you obviously wanted what we call liquid, meaning accessible. So if the garage goes out, you can go to, you can transfer the money from your savings to your checking so you can pay with your debit card. But at a certain point, one of the things that you can do with your money is also investing. A lot of times, many of us are only told about investing when it as relates to our 401k or retirement account, but you can also yourself also invest. There's a great resource that Darlene is going to drop in the chat for you. This is a nonprofit organization that will help you on investing. They have a wealth of information. It's called betterinvesting.org. She's going to drop that in the chat for you. We don't have a lot of time to go deep into that, but I want to at least make sure that you have that resource there. The second resource, Darlene, that I want you to drop in the chat is there's a link to a resource that I call the net worth calculator. Once you kind of do your visioning, one of the things that you want to do is you want to list out your current assets, your current liabilities, and it's going to give you your net worth number. So that's where you are. Then what you want to do is you want to make another copy of, well, in 5 years, or you can do a year from now, this is where I want to be. You're either going to be increasing your assets or you're going to be decreasing your liabilities. So those, both of those tools are going to be there to help you. I know we're coming up on time. I just want to take a pulse test. How are you guys doing? Am I taking you into the ocean, or are y'all swimming? Are you swimming with me? I see Darlene is okay. I want to be able to see you guys. I want to put you guys on gallery so I can see your beautiful faces. Kathy, are you okay? Okay, I just want to make sure.
Got some thumbs
Dominique,
up, it
how
looks
about
like
you?
too.
You don't have to give. Okay, all right. I just want to make sure that you guys are okay, because normally this is like a whole half a day, all day workshop, and we're doing it in 90 minutes. But are you guys getting value out of it?
Yes, awesome.
Okay, all right, awesome. Okay, now what we want to do, so we talked about investing. I want to make sure that we give you what we promised we were going to give you. Now we're going to combine the budgeting and the debt reduction all together, because there's a tool that I'm going to share with you that has both of those items. So you guys, are you guys excited? I'm about to share something with you that typically only financial advisors sit down with their clients and together. But I was like, no, I'm going to give this to them so that they can take control. I call this the Take Control Master Plan.
Woohoo! Bring it.
You're about to become the CFO. You guys know what CFO, Chief Financial Officer. As an individual, you need to be a CFO when it comes to your finances. You need to, just like the CPA, the CFO of a company manages, they provide reporting, they track, they report. You also need to be doing that with your finances. I was talking to Kimberle today. I used to hate budgeting, you guys. That word, that B word, it was like a bad word to me, because I always felt like budgeting constrained me. Like there wasn't enough. It's like, oh my God, I'm gonna do this budget so that I can show how much money I'm about to give out and not give myself any. So I'm going to I'm going to take this tool and I'm going to kind of show you so that, Darlene, if you can start to give me, what do you call it? The ability to share my screen. I'll go through it with you so that I can show you kind of how this tool works. And then we'll drop it in the chat so that you can grab it and be able to play around with it. I do have a workshop coming up where it's also a 90-minute, but it's going to be specifically geared toward how to kind of work with this master plan. I know Teresa is a spreadsheet guru. Now, this is what I want to say before we go here. Did you give me sharing capabilities?
Is it not letting you? It
Darlene?
shows it's open on my side for
I
you.
haven't tried it yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Yeah, you're open.
I hadn't opened it yet, so I just wanted to make sure. Are you guys okay on time? I know we are. We were a little bit ambitious with our time, but okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Some of us are really into spreadsheets, whether it's Excel, whether it's Google Sheets, but I want to tell you that it doesn't matter what you use. What matters is that you at least do something, whether it's taking a pen and paper, a spiral notebook that you're going to use as your tracker, whether it's using an app, a resource that some people may like, I didn't like it, was the Every Dollar budgeting app that Dave Ramsey has. Some people like that. I did not like it. Maybe because I'm a finance person and I'm used to spreadsheets. So some of you are going to love this. Some of you can at least take the information and put it on paper in the same way so that you can track it. So this is going to be your Take Control Master Plan. There's an instruction on what's here. There's an instruction on how to use the income and expense section. And check this out. Are you guys ready for this? So here is a spreadsheet where you are going to be able to put your budget here, okay? And I kind of fill in numbers here so that you can see that it adds up. So you're going to go in here, you're going to add your income, whatever your income is in that section, all the various incomes that you have coming in, and it adds it all up. So this is the master budget that you're going to have. And then you're going to put your savings. Dun, dun, dun. You notice where savings is? It's at the top. It's not at the bottom. And you are going to then put all of your expenses. And one of the things that we were going to have you do is the best way to kind of know what your expenses, what you've been paying, is print out your bank statements. Print out at least 3 months of your bank statements. That is going to show you typically how much you're spending on food, how much you're spending on going out, how much you're spending on gas. Where's all your money going? That way you kind of have an idea. Don't judge, don't beat yourself up. What you're trying to do with this first time is you're just trying to gather information to see where are things at. And then you can always go back and be like, you know what? I think I want to adjust it. So that's what this first sheet is. This cash flow plan is here. You list out all your expenses. Feel free to adjust the category. Like, what the heck is bundle service? I don't like that. I'm going to say golf because I golf. and it's an item. So, you can change up the categories to what meets your lifestyle. My budget is going to look different than Darlene because it mirrors our lives. So we have that. So you have that spreadsheet. And then the next part of this is going to be where you are going to list out your debts. You want to list them from the smallest balance to the highest balance. So I just kind of gave you some examples here. You're going to put Ashley Furniture, like say that's 2%. You put some furniture on credit and your monthly payment is that. Discover, Great Lex Education. This is your student loan. I don't know if that company's still around, but that used to be the student loan servicing company. So you're going to list all your debts in here, and it's going to total it for you. So you have that. So you see, you're going to have a place. Don't shy away from your debt. You want to have visibility to your debt. The first, what is it? The first to solving a problem is acknowledging, or the first step to solving a problem is to acknowledge it. So you're going to put all of that in there. And this sheet is going to feed everything from those two spreadsheets. It's going to feed into here. And you guys, it's going to tell you what the recommended ranges are, like for charity, 10 to 15% savings. It gives you recommended amounts, like your housing should not be more than 35% of what you're bringing in home. So if somebody who's thinking about buying a house and you go get pre-approved and they say, oh, you're pre-approved for an $800,000 home. How, based on what the payments will be, is that within this range of what I'm bringing in home? So that's that. And then there's a part in here that there's a paycheck planner. It gives you the instructions, and then it has 12 months. This is where you will be going in there, because people get paid differently, monthly, bi-weekly. You're going to put, okay, you can put the day here. I don't know, April 28th. That's my payday. You're going to put the 28th, 25, and you're going to put, okay, this is how much I have in my checking account. This is what's coming in. I'm going to transfer some money, or there's some other income. It's going to give you a total. And then here's a beautiful thing. Okay, I paid my rent. How much am I going to have after I pay my rent? So it has you, then you put all your expenses in here. Again, so that way, so before you even get paid, I tell people, like, let's say if you get paid on a Friday, Wednesday, Thursday, you're looking at your spreadsheet, because usually you'll get a pay advice or a notification that, there's an ACH, you're going to be getting paid, and this is how much it's going to be. Before you spend, you want to come in here and plan out your paycheck. And the beautiful thing is you have 12 months to be able to go there. And then there's a saving statements. You can also plan out the different savings, vacation, car registration. I do a savings for my insurance. I hate monthly payments when it comes to insurances. So with the exception of auto, all my insurances are paid annually. And what I do is I have a fund for it that I put money aside. What I need to do a better job of is, when it comes to car repairs, is setting a little bit of fund for that. But it also has that in there for you. So the beautiful thing about budgeting that I wanted to stress here is that it helps you to take control. It puts you on the driver's seat. And as we're talking about the tariffs and all of that, this is a time, because we don't know what's going to be happening, right? What we can do right now is look and seeing where we are financially and where we need to make some tweaks, because that's what businesses are doing right now. They're looking at their costs. They're saying, where do we need to kind of, reduce our costs a little bit? And what you do is you just tweak. And you guys, by doing this, by having this, so I'm literally, there's a calculator in my brain. I'm at the Empowered Women Conference, amazing vendors. I'm like, okay, I want to get 3 of Trisha's lotion. There's a lady selling these nice clothes. Okay. I really want to get 3. Okay, let me let myself have them. But what bucket is that going to come out of? Okay, I have a little bit of money in my entertainment fund. I'm going to pull $50 from there. You see what I'm saying? So it puts you in that wheelhouse where budgeting really is a way for you to give yourself permission to enjoy the things that you love, rather than seeing it as a tool that restricts you. It puts you in control. So I'm going to pause right there, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I know we kind of went really fast in that. Darlene, did you drop that in the chat?
I did. I put the link for the spreadsheet that Felicia was sharing, is called Take Control Master Plan. And when you click that link, you can make a copy for yourself for your own Google Drive. So you can rename it with your name, and it'll have your information.
Yeah. And one of the things that I noticed with some of the copies, it is not copying the first 2 instruction sheets. If that's an issue, let me know and I can send it to you in an Excel because something's happening with Google Sheets where it's doing that. So that is
The instruction sheets are blank on here. So
yeah, that's what I was saying. I'm noticing that because these were done in Excel. I did these in Excel. And when I moved them over to Google Sheets, that was happening. But no worries, I can always send it to you in the Excel version so that you have it. And one thing I want to talk about when it comes to paying debt, there's a debt snowball program. And in a nutshell, that's really about listing your debts from smallest to largest. You could either do it that methodology from smallest to largest or from the highest to the lowest interest rate. I recommend, and so does when I did the Dave Ramsey certification program, they recommend the smallest to the largest because there's a sense of satisfaction as you are paying off that debt. You've got that small one, you pay it off, you cross it off, and the payments that you were making for that, you're going to start using that on the next debt. And you just keep going until you pay it off. There's a simulation that I was trying to do for you guys, but due to time, we can do that another time. But you're actually going to pay your debt off faster. One of the fastest ways that you can give yourself a raise, you guys, is by getting rid of high interest rate debt, paying it off as quickly as you can. And also you'll notice that you will also save on the amount of interest that you get paid. So with that, I'm going to pause and see if we have any questions based on anything that we have shared here before we go into our wrap up. Are y'all swimming? Does anybody need a life jacket?
Felicia, can you
it.
drop that Excel document right in the chat as well? Will it let you, or we need something different?
I don't know how it works with Excel because usually it's a file that I'll have to send, but maybe that could be a follow-up email.
Yes, I can send it in a follow-up email. That's awesome.
Should be able to insert, but I don't know.
I should have taken Excel right in Google Drive, but we'll figure it out. Questions,
Okay.
comments, thoughts, feedback. We are at the finishing line. Woo woo.
I know the spreadsheet can take people to the ocean, what I always say.
I live in spreadsheet
And I
land,
get
so
really
I love
excited
that
about
part.
that. Okay.
And we want to hear from you. You know, today is
Yeah.
the workshop, but the reality is we will be sending corresponding emails because we want to help you become financially well. That's our focus this month. Darlene's going to share our events for next month. But if you also would take a moment and scan that QR code for our actual survey, we want to get your feedback. We are really excited and committed to seeing transformation and change in your life. I'm going to drop the link also in the chat. Although the QR code is there, I'm going to drop the link in the chat so you have that as well. But with that,
But give us some takeaways, ladies. What are some, give us 2 or 3 takeaways that you came away with based on what we've shared with you.
Yeah, go ahead and start dropping those in the chat. And while you're dropping those in the chat, I just want to have you mark your calendar for next month. If you live in the Temecula Valley, we are going to be having an in-person workshop on mental health and making sure that we're taking great care of ourselves and making sure that there's so many places and things that pull our attention, whether we're moms or partners or volunteer for nonprofits or give to the community. We're doing all the things. How do we make sure we're creating the right space for ourselves and taking care of ourselves first? And actually, Kimberly, I was just looking at my calendar. I know we had a couple dates going back and forth. Did we land on a date for that? I don't have it on my calendar. If you can help me out with getting that date pulled up, that would be amazing.
Yep. Awesome. Awesome.
And then I do have another date for you though. So we'll skip ahead from from May really quick and let's head to June. We're going to be doing a hike in person, hanging out together, going outdoors, and just being in nature and having a picnic together on Saturday, June 28th. So please mark your calendar for that morning. We'll be sending out details here really shortly of where we're going to go, what it's going to look like, what you need to bring, lots of sunscreen and water. and a little picnic lunch for yourself, but we'd love to get outdoors with you and just take advantage of the beautiful weather we have in June here in Southern California and get outside.
Yep. That May mental health is May the 29th. May 29th, mark your calendar. It's live. And actually, one of the facilitators is here in the room. Dominique, I know she's off camera, but I believe she's still in. Dominique will be leading along with Misty Kerrigan, the mental health workshop. So super excited to hear and see you all there. Question, did everyone get the link for the survey? I dropped it in the chat, and there's also a QR code. I can drop it once more, but we would love to hear feedback from you. Any last comments, any last thoughts from any of you?
Question.
Yes.
Mhm. Did we answer all the questions from the survey?
From the pop quiz. The pop
For the
quiz.
top
Yes.
quiz.
Let me put my glasses on so I can give you guys the answers. Or maybe some of you guys may know the answers already. What is the recommended amount for an emergency fund? I think I answered that. 3 to 6 months of your expenses. What is the ideal debt to income ratio? The amount of debt you have relative to your income. You want it to be less than 35%. What is the recommended percentage of your take home for savings? It depends.
Right.
It depends on what your goals are. People will say 10%, but what if I have a goal to go on a vacation, or if I have a goal to purchase a home? I'm probably going to be saving a lot more than the 10%. So it just really, that's why it's important to have a vision, have a list of what is it that you're working towards. You got to always have the why. What is the rule of 72? Does anybody know that?
No.
Kathy might know. Kathy, do you know?
I do, but I'll let someone else answer.
Yeah,
You can answer it.
Why not? Tell the answer.
Tell us. You must be a financial advisor.
Kind of, yeah. So the rule of 72 is you divide 72 by the interest rate that you're getting, and that will show you how many years it will take for your money to double.
Yep. Thank you. You guys got that? So if you got 10,000, you want to know how many years will it take double. You take 72 divided by the interest rate, and that is your how many years it'll take you.
And the same goes for inflation. People think of, saving $1 million is going to be enough, but if you divide the inflation rate by 72, that's how much that $1 million is actually going to be worth in the future.
Kind of scary when you look at those numbers right now.
Right. Last thing is, what is a zero-based budget? Anybody guess that one?
What was the question?
What is a zero-based budget?
It's when all your money basically has a place, right? Like okay.
Absolutely. And in the spreadsheet, yes. So you want to have your money is allocated everywhere. You don't just have money hanging around without a place to go. Savings, expenses, whatever, right? Send to me. And that's a good point, because if you don't have a place for it, there are people all over Facebook, Instagram that have plans for your money. So you got to have a plan. Otherwise, somebody else is going to make plans for your money. So that's why you want to have a zero-based budget where you allocate for everything. And those were all the answers that we have. So you guys, awesome. Y'all did a good job.
Awesome. I see Maritza has finished her survey. I'd love to challenge you all. Kathy, Marilyn, Dominique, Teresa, Gwen, get those surveys in. We want to hear back from you. Felicia, I think you were saying something, and I'm so excited.
I was going to have you close us out, or if you want to add anything, that's all I have.
Ladies, I want to take this time to personally thank you for setting aside this 90 minutes on a beautiful Wednesday night to be here with us. Felicia, you are a gem, and I am so thankful you're in our community to share your wealth of wisdom and knowledge with all of these wonderful ladies. Listen, if you enjoyed this, again, send us a survey, but be sure to tell your friends and family. The one and only Felicia Kadima was here sharing information and knowledge with the community. We are going to make this resource available to you all. We're kind of planning where, if it's on our website, if it's on Facebook, if it's on, it'll be there. So make sure you go back, check in, share with friends and family. But again, we thank you. We appreciate you. We want to send you off with well wishes and believing that you will budget, you will save, you will invest, you will get out of debt because inflation is rising, but so are you. Thank you for joining us. Have a fantastic evening.
I got one more thing, and I should have
Bye,
said this.
everyone.
If you guys can do me a favor, I have a Facebook group called Girlfriend, Let's Get Your Money Right. It's on Facebook, and there's a post of this workshop. If you can go in there and send a request to be admitted to the group, I will let you in and comment on what you like best about the workshop today. So it's Girlfriend, Let's Get Your Money Right. You'll see a photo of me in all black. That's my Batwoman outfit. If you can please put your comments on what you take about, I would greatly appreciate it. So there is what, 11 of us, 9 of us here. So I look forward to seeing 9 comments. So thank you so much, you guys, for the opportunity.
Awesome. One last thing, if you haven't already done it yet, if you hit the 3 little dots in the meeting chat, you can get all the links that have been dropped tonight, as well as any networking or connections of people that were here. So if you just grab the 3 little dots and hit save chat, they'll save directly to your computer. All right, that's a wrap, everybody. We'll see you next month for mental health, and we'll see you in June for hiking. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Kimberly, can you stop recording?
Yeah, thank you.